And welcome to Playerole presents Creatures of the Realm. Blah, blah. So what is Creatures of the Realm? Well, Creatures of the Realm is a Dungeons & Dragons monster manual look at creatures. They're in the spotlight. Today I have two big creatures. Now, I'm not going to go alphabetical order like I did in season 1. This time I'm going to go through themes. My theme is horror, and I'm going to keep it that way for a bit, and then we're going to change up to something a little different later. Tonight we're going to work on the Helmed Horror and Medusa, the two very cool and one of my favorites creatures. So let's get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is the Helmed Horror. As you can see in the picture, it's a creature or a construct that is intelligent and really good with tactics. My guys in my campaigns dealt with him, and it was a force to be reckoned with. It's very, very powerful. And depending on how you use it, it really can make your campaign really big and scary. The Helmed Horror can be, for example, you enter a castle and you see a suit of armor in the corner. It's not animated or anything like that, but for some reason, you get closer to it than it animates. And this thing has a massive sword and a rack of armor, plate armor normally, or something else, depending on how you want to run it. You could homebrew it, or you could just change it up a little bit. But normally, these creatures, this construct, again, very cool, very, very cool. These constructs possess intelligence, the ability to reason and adjust to its tactics. And devotion is to the maker, basically someone who is conniving, some form of mage, NPC, a villain in your story. You can really, really create something unique and almost impossible, because these things are pretty dangerous. Normally, if you have plate armor, you're looking at 19 or 20 armor class, because this thing usually has a shield and armor, which makes it very difficult to kill. Now the hit points, normally for this level, challenge rate of 4, 1100 XPs, that can be tweaked for your campaign. It all depends on how you want to run it. Just remember that, because the main goal here is your game, your ambience, your story. So if your story takes place in a dark castle, and you see this animated, or this suit of armor, and the party gets closer and it animates, you're going to have a big combat scene. And it could also be scary, where it doesn't animate automatically, or right then and there. They may pass by, make a perception roll. They look, could have sworn the construct moved right or left, just kind of looked. Could have sworn. It has no eyes, or it's faceless. Doesn't have any of those things. So those are the things that you really, really can really adjust in your game, make them a little different, come up with a really unique story behind the Helmed Horror, stuff like that. Alright, some reason my chat isn't working. So if my chat isn't working, just go ahead and put everything down in the chat, and we're gonna I'll comment later, but I'm gonna have to fix that. But it happens, man. It's streaming. So I was getting to, man, that's kind of weird how it's not There's nothing in the chat at all. Oh, here we go. There we go. There's my chat. All right, never mind. I got it right here. The chat is back. So, let's get back to the Helmed Horror. The Helmed Horror, again, it's ambience of your story. Is it a horror story? What happened to this construct? You know, again, it doesn't have to be just a suit of armor. You could add a little bit of flavor to it and make your story, the composition of your story, great. Again, you have your party moving in. The suit of this construct doesn't have to animate right then and there. It can do it at any time. And when it does, it's going to create a lot of problems for the party. Let's take a look. I mentioned it has a shield, armor, plate armor, hit points 60, but this is a challenge rate of 4. That challenge rate can go up a little more, if you so please, to make it a little difficult, depending on your level of your party. But you're looking at your abilities and what is the main attribute that makes this construct so devious, so dangerous. Strength, dexterity, and constitution. The main 3. Those abilities are pretty strong. At a 16, you get a +3. At an 18, you get a +4. At a 13, you get a +1. But still, those modifiers are really helpful, especially for an NPC or a creature. And then, damage resisting. Bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, non-magical attacks that aren't adamantine. Adamantine is a very, very unique alloy in the fantasy world of Dungeons and Dragons. For those of you who don't know. Now, damage immunity, force, neurotic, and poison. Of course, those things are not good. Because it's a heavy set of armor. Condition immunities. You know, blind, charm, you know, deafened, frightened, petrified, paralyzed, poison, stunned. All that stuff is not going to work, guys. It's a suit of armor. Just remember that. It has blind sight at 60 feet. Blind beyond this radius, which is 60 feet, and a perception of 14. Now, what is blind sight? If you have blind sight, you can see within a specific range without relying on physical sight. So, imagine if you are by, you could have sworn this suit of armor is checking you out. But if you passed that range of 60 feet, you know, it's not going to be able to see you. So, you know, that's how a construct is used. Now, it all depends on what happens in the situation. Situationally, in the castle, in a swamp, or however you want to put it. A swamp would be really cool with the suit of armor. It'll just sink because it's heavy. Languages. So basically, the creator, the mage, it only understand those languages that this creator magically induced it to use, so or to understand. So, for example, Common, Celestial, Elven, Goliath. Those are the things that you can do, which makes it really cool. Is it resistant to magic? The Helmed Horror has advantage on saving throws against spells or other magical effects because it's a construct and it's induced by magic itself. Spell immunity. The Helmed Horror is immune to 3 spells chosen by its creator. Typically, immunities include fireball, heat, metal, and lightning. Really cool stuff. Of course, because they're massive and they're dangerous type of spells that this construct could just say, guess what? Boom. those are the things that really, really bring you into the game, bring you into the world of fantasy. Especially if you have this cool mage thinking, oh, you know what? I'm going to use this fireball spell or lightning. And this construct, this Helmed Horror is going to go ahead and, pretty much brush it off. Now, tactics. Before we get into tactics, let's talk about food, air, because it's a construct. Does it need to eat? Does it need air or anything like that? Very simple. It's cunning and tactics. When it comes to tactics, it's very good. Because again, even though I gave you the big three, you have your dexterity, your strength, those two right there alone is a force to be reckoned with. And if you want to look at your constitution as well, those three, the modifiers are good, and whatever situation you have it in, it's gonna really perform. Now, intelligence, not so much. No modifier at 10. Wisdom at 10, charisma at 10. Obviously, it's not there for looks. Armor could look really ornate, beautiful, but doesn't mean it does. Obviously, because it's faceless. There's nothing inside except magical beauty. What is the purpose to this Helmed Horror? Though it takes more magical resources to create a Helmed Horror than a lesser suit of animated armor, Helmed Horror requires less direction and maintenance as it carries out its appointed task. A Helmed Horror follows its orders with complete loyalty and is intelligent enough to understand the difference between an order's intent and its exact wording. Unlike many constructs, it seeks to fulfill the former rather than lavishly follow the latter. So basically, it's going to go ahead and follow 100% everything that it's told to do. Want to make sure my streaming is good, guys. And it's going to follow everything. What does that have to do with the whole construct here? Well, let's say you have this villain. And this villain creates this animated armor, this Helmed Horror. And it tells it to do certain things to protect the castle, to watch for any intruders. Very simple tasks, but they're enough to cause issues, especially with a party. So let's say the villain tells the construct, the Helmed Horror, hey, watch the castle, no intruders, and kill any intruders. Simple orders. It will follow it. It's very loyal. No matter what you do, it's not going to give in. It doesn't talk. It's not going to be, hey, I'm going to go ahead and not follow my orders. No, it's going to attack you. Now, what does this construct, this Helmed Horror, have that makes it so cool to have in your campaigns? Let's take a look. It has a massive sword, has multiple attacks, a +6 to hit. And you know what? A challenge rate of 4, 1100 XPs? That's awesome. I don't know about you, you roll 20-sided, a +6, you're gonna hit. Unless you get a very low number, you're gonna hit. And your reach is 5 feet. You gotta get within range. But let's say the party goes by, the Helmed Horror kind of watches them. Again, the orders were, watch the castle, get rid of intruders, kill intruders. So there you go. It's going to go ahead and attack. You're going to have combat as soon as you walk in. It's not going to be the one where, hey, I'm going to head and animate later. No, it's going to animate automatically. It's going to come to life, and the party's going to have to deal with this thing, this medium construct. Slashing damage, not so much. 1d8 plus 4, but 1d10 plus 4. Again, it is challenge rate of 4, but still, that's definitely enough to really induce your game. And especially if you got one of those mages where they think they're really cool, hombres, and they're like, hey, you know what? I want to throw a fireball at this construct. I want to find out if the fireball works. Well, you use the fireball, and boom! The Helmed Horror is going to go, nope, sorry, ain't going to work. And those are the things you got to think about. And I know I'm repeating myself, but it's important. This construct, this Helmed Horror, can be in your game, and it is, and I love using it. The suit of armor is just pretty deadly. The best way for you to get rid of it, and flee, man, there's fight or flight. Flee. And if you're at low levels, 20 AC is pretty tough. So there you have it. That is the Helmed Horror. And next up, we're going to talk about my favorite villains. I absolutely love this creature. And guys, I don't know about you, but let's put her in here. She's right next to the Helmed Horror. Medusa. That's right. Medusa. Medusa, I know that's a young picture of Medusa. Now, Medusa can be anything you want. Please. She doesn't have to be exactly perfect. A film that you can really relate to for Medusa, and there's a lot of them out there, a lot of books on Medusa that you can look up for content. But if you really want to get into Medusa, if you really want to make a homebrew Medusa, look at the movie Clash of the Titans. You know, Perseus went in there. You know, he had a shield, and of course he saw Medusa through its reflection. She has hair instead of hair, snakes. You look at Medusa, and of course, man, you're gonna turn to stone. And I'm telling you, that is cool, very cool stuff. But Medusa has issues. As cool as she is, she has to live alone in her lair, and her lair can be anywhere. I know D&D has a specific lair, but it can be in a castle. It can be in a tower, you know, by the water. It can be in a cabin in the woods. It can be in a cave. It can be in a labyrinth. It can be anywhere. Anywhere you want. You gotta remember, your mind is right here. And you can expand and create these beautiful, beautiful things. And these stories that intensify situations, intensify the game. So those are the things that you really, really have to look at. Because when you have a story, you're using a badass creature like this, like Medusa, put her in an environment that will intensify your story. Obviously, horror. Obviously, the sense of urgency, the sense of well, there's got to be some form of stakes. What's going on? Why is she like this? You know, why isn't it just, if you're a hero and you're going into a cave per se, and this is Medusa's lair, and you want to find out what's going on with her? Why is she like that? Yeah, she's dangerous, indeed, because she can turn you to stone, but she is a force to be reckoned with. what you could find out about her, which makes it interesting. Now, Medusa, in the monster manual, Medusas can be, again, as it's written here, the serpent-haired Medusas who once suffer an immortal curse brought by their vanity. They lurk in quiet exile among the tumbled ruins of their former lives. So those are keys to Medusa's story. And you could elaborate on that. You could expand on that. So basically, men and women who desire eternal youth, beauty, and adoration might pray to malicious gods, beg dragons for ancient magic, or seek out powerful archmages to fulfill their wishes. Others may sacrifice to demon lords or archdevils, offering all in exchange for this gift, oblivious to the curse that accompanies it. Those who strike such bargains gain physical beauty, restored youth, immortality, and adoration of all who behold them, granting them the influence and power they so desire. However, after years of living like a demigod among mortals, the price for their vanity and hubris is exact, and they are forever transformed into Medusas. A Medusa's hair turns into a nest of venomous serpents, and all who gaze upon Medusas are petrified, stone monuments in its corruption. So there you go. There you go. Very, very, very cool. Before we get into Medusa, let's take a look at. Let's get back into it. Let's take a look at, and I know I have a picture of a younger Medusa, because Medusa, according to what I just read, Medusa is just a concept, and that concept can be on anybody because of their arrogance, their vain, and so forth. And that story can be elaborated in your story to intensify the game. And Medusas are great villains because of how dangerous they are. And if you remember in Clash of Titans, Perseus had a shield. Without that shield, would have been toast. If you look in that room he was in, warriors turned to stone. An archer had the cord pulled back, turned to stone. A warrior with his sword reached out, turned to stone. So that's a pretty difficult situation. So with that, you have to understand how and why. What makes Medusa tick, not ticks. What makes her tick? Okay, you have this. For one, she has a low armor class, 15. Her challenge rate is 6. Stronger than the Helmed Horror, 2300 XP. If you're starting between level 1 and 5, this is a very good adversary. And of course, Medusa has minions. If you have Medusa and minions, it'll make your challenge difficult. Her hit points is 127. Let's go into her abilities. What is her highest ability, which is charisma? No, I'm sorry. Constitution, charisma, and dexterity. Big three. The rest doesn't matter. Those three are important. Why? Because you have your perception skills, your insight, deception, all that type of stuff, which is part of who she is. Because she's going to try to manipulate you, And of course, you're going to try to make you look at it, which will cause you to turn to stone. Petrifying gaze. Before we get into that gaze, let's take a look at the dark vision. Dark vision, very cool, 60 feet. For those of you who gets confused between dark vision and you're like, oh, you know what, they cast darkness, I can see. No. If you have dark vision, you can see in dim light with a specific range as if you were a bright light in darkness within that range as if you were dim light. You discern colors in darkness only as shades of gray. That's what it does. So if somebody has the ability of darkness and they cast that, you are blind. Languages are common, and before I get into petrifying gaze and all the cool stuff, her armor is 15, natural armor, I did say that, and her speed is 30, walking. Obviously, she's not going to make an athletics roll and jump. She can. Gotta remember, I can't say she can't because each DM has their own flavor in how to run things. So they can do that. Petrifying gaze. When a creature that you can see, the Medusa's eyes start its turn within 30 feet of Medusa, the Medusa can force it to make a DC 14 Constitution save. If you fail it, you are in deep doo-doo. Okay? And this is very important. Let's read on it. Let's read on. The Medusa can force it to make a DC 14 Constitution save. If the Medusa isn't incapacitated and can see the creature, if the creature fails the saving throw by 5 or more, the creature is instantly petrified. Very powerful. Very powerful. Otherwise, a creature that fails the save begins to turn to stone and is restrained. So you don't want to fail it by 5, and you're slowly turning the stone anyway. The restrained creature must repeat the saving throw at the end of the next turn, becoming petrified on a failure or ending the effect on a success. The petrification lasts until the creature is freed by the greater restoration spell or other magic. Guys, if you want to know what makes Medusa so cool, that is it. Medusa will be in a room and you fail the saving throw by 5, you turn to stone instantly. But no one in your party has greater restoration or any magic, then guess what? Your character is done. That is all part of Dungeons & Dragons and part of roleplay. In Season 2, and at the end of the line, they met Medusa, and they had minions out there. And this time, they reasoned with Medusa, but not looking at her directly. They had a nice little chat. And she gave one of the characters, Endolin, which was played by Andrew, a gift. So that gift, Andrew's character, Endolin, used later in the game. Again, just because the monster manual says they're evil or whatnot, you could homebrew it. Make it yours. Make the game magical. Bring your party into that moment, that ambiance, that setting. And Medusa, Medusa's awesome. But she's a subject to her own curse. She removes all reflective surfaces, or anything that's a reflection, glass, mirrors, in her lair. That's very important because you don't want, or she doesn't want something that can kill her or cause her to turn to stone in her own lair. But you have to be smart. So you're going to get players that are going to be like, I have a shield. I want to try to do the Perseus thing. And you can. You can do it. Make a roll. Stuff like that. To see if you can figure it out. Or, they do something cool. Figure it out anyway. And the players figure it out. They use a shield. Or they might use a piece of glass. Or something. Because if not, you're going to have to take her out different. And one of the characters, one of my players, they didn't know it was Medusa. They got close because she had a cloak. The cloak went down. The snakes kind of went all over. Her eyes turned white. And boom! He started to turn to stone. He didn't miss it by 5, but he started to turn to stone. And that petrification process occurred. And let me tell you, it was fun and people loved it. You'll put something down in the chat here. All right. What do you think of Medusa? Would you use Medusa or A Helmed Horror? Yeah, so I want to put this in the chat. What do you think of the Helmed Horror? What do you think of Medusa? Just let me know in the chat, because those two creatures are very cool. Would you use a Helmed Horror, which is an animated suit of armor, a construct, or would you use Medusa? Medusa's a little bit more complicated. She has more things to do. We talked about petrification. Now let's look at what else you can. Not only, and this is where surprise really can make or break your party. Because if they fail, and she has the upper hand, you're doomed. So multi-attack. Medusa she's got 3 melee attacks. 1 with its snake hair, 2 with its short sword, or range attacks with a long bow. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So you have your longbow, you have your short sword, and your snake. So your snake hair, 2 with your short sword, and then 2 range attacks with the longbow. So you have 3. So you have your options of what you want to use in the combat moment. Okay, her melee attacks is +5 to hit. Again, it's not massive, but +5 is pretty damn good. On the 20-sided, hell. Here, I want to roll 20-sided right now. Yeah, I got this for Christmas. These 20-sided dice, I love it. You see that? It was a gift. Great. Thank you, Megan. So I'm going to roll. I got an 18. So if I have a DC of 14 or 15, 18 plus 5, I already hit. And that's with the short sword. And it's the same thing with a long bow, which goes between 150 and 600 feet. Obviously, her attacks with her weapons, her swords, are going to be within 5 feet. Again, damage, 1d6 plus 2. Not much, but still. Remember, you're up close, petrification. So there you have it. Medusa. That's Medusa. Now, we just discussed petrification. Yeah, and I showed you the dice. Yeah, there you go. Oh, yeah. I love these dice, they're awesome. Yeah. Look at this, 10-sided. I like it, yeah. So let me continue, sorry. I'll be talking about different shit. But, Medusa. Getting back to Medusa. Medusa. No, we're not going to get into that. But Medusa, she is in, let's create a layer, shall we? A cool layer. What would you do as a DM? What layer would you use? Would you use an old cabin? Or maybe a cabin in the woods? Would you use a castle? Let's go into, I did it with the Helmed Horror. The players as a group killed the Helmed Horror. Some are hurt in the party of 6. Some are still good. They moved on. Not knowing that the main villain in this castle is Medusa. And they made it at this long corridor which branches off left and right. They decide to go right, and then they do that, another long corridor. You see painting on the walls, they see torches lighting up the room. They continue on, and the room opens up. Huge room. And you have no mirrors, nothing. But you see these columns, 3 of them. In the center, 2 in the western side of the room, and the eastern side of the room. You have your east column, and then in the middle, you have your center mass column. So the players make it in, all 6 of them. Let's say out of the 6, 2 are hurt, but not badly enough that they're going to die, but just badly enough they need rest. So out of the 6 players, 4 are going to be on guard. So they see this woman in a cloak, sitting on a throne. In Clash of the Titans, her body was part of a snake. Very cool homebrew Medusa. It could be that way, or she can be a human. She looks like a human from afar. Up close, whole different story. So she's sitting, mine is human, there's no snake for her body. So she sits on a throne, and they approach, and they try to communicate with her. And the dwarf approaches, he gets about 10 feet away, and what happens is, immediately, there's this conversation. She says, "Why are you here?" And the dwarf says, "Well, we're looking for," let's say they were looking for a missing party. An adventuring group that entered the castle, and they're just looking for him. And she turns and she says, "I know where they are." And you're like, "Oh, can you elaborate a little bit more?" And he says, "I can." And as she drops her hood, snakes flare out, her eyes turn white. The dwarf is looking right at her. He makes his roll, fails it, petrified instantly. He failed. The party scrambles. That's the way I would do it. I would really bring up some clues. I would have, remember I mentioned the column in the center, I would have writing on the wall, of people that etched their names or etched beware, don't go further down, stuff like that. Clues of what's going on. And then you would see, a woman grabbing a column like this, holding it, trying to hide. She's turned to stone. I would have something like that. But I wouldn't have it right at the beginning. I would have it towards the end. I would have them investigate their room more. I just included Medusa in to really bring her up and how to use her accurately. You can use her that way, or as she does that, she grabs her bow and starts to strike, but again, she's the one not to hide behind things because of what her ability is. They're the ones that's going to hide. They're the ones that's going to disperse. So once that happens, she makes her move. And tactically, when that happens, she already has the upper hand. Because they're going to know, oh shit, one of my party members turned to stone. Out of 6, 2 need rest. 2 need rest, and 1 got turned to stone. Now, you have 5. But the strength of your party is dwindling down because of the situations. And again, I'm not trying to peer into the future, and don't ever do that as a DM. Don't try to manipulate things, because that would be railroading. You don't want to do that. It's okay to do a little bit, but try to lure them in story form fashion, but don't do it completely railroading everything. Because if that happens, then the party's going to be like, there's no sense of urgency. It's trying to just get this story going, and it feels forced. You don't want to do that. So I would present her that way, but later on, they would see certain things of what occurred, clues of what is happening. Someone will make an investigation check. They might find like half a hand grabbing a sword, but it's made out of stone. But the sword, the hand is wielding the sword, but it's really grasped to the point where you can see the marks in the palm. But it's turned to stone, and you can see the marks as well. The person who had the sword was fighting for his life against Medusa. Failed, of course, but that failure was, just that indicator of that failure. And that's what I would do. I would have like little hints of what's going on, and then when they meet her, then you have this big battle. Now, what type of minions can you throw in? You could throw in lizard folk, stuff like that. You really can. I like those creatures. Granted, they're used for dragons and so forth in that layer, but you could use them as well. I'm sorry, excuse me. So you can use that as well. Would it make the game interesting if you do have lizard folk? Yeah, cool. Maybe they made a pact with Medusa. Who knows? Because they like trinkets and stuff like that. So she has all these things that they like. The lizard folk is going to work with her. So you can throw them in this thing, or maybe goblins. Goblins could work with her. Oh, goblins don't like humans. Yeah. We know. But you could homebrew it. Make the goblins a little bit more intelligent than they normally are. To have a conversation with Medusa, and Medusa has a plan for them. Which the plan of the horde, the goblin horde, is, well, what type of things you have, what makes us powerful, stuff like that. So those are the challenges in your game. What type of minions you're going to have, okay, I have the scenario. They're in a castle, and one of the rooms, one of the major areas is the throne room. She's going to be there, but also her minions as well. So, behind the stone statues of warriors, these lizard folk come out. 10 of them, and they have a big battle with the players. And once they get dwindled down or they're in battle, Medusa comes in. Maybe not the first round, but the second round, and she starts. Okay, from afar, I want to start using my bow, and goes 600 feet. So you're done. If she hits, you're going to get nailed. So those are the things that you have to think about. Now, why do I say you have to? Because it's important. The story is important. Having the players sit in your game and having a great time is really important. And if you want to use Medusa as such a great character, great creature, that you really can make things interesting. And when you do that, people are going to love you for it. Especially the party. They're going to be like, hey, that's a cool concept. Man, you use her in a different way. So, that's it. Sorry. Let's take a look here. What else? Alright. Unless surprised, a creature can avert its eyes to avoid the saving throw at the start of its turn. If the creature does so, it can't see the Medusa until the start of the next turn, when it can avert its eyes again. If the creature looks at the Medusa, in the meantime, it immediately makes a save. If Medusa sees itself reflected on a polished surface within 30 feet of it, and in an area of bright light, the Medusa is, due to its curse, affected by its own gaze. There you go. So that's the curse, and a deadly one it is. So that's it for Medusa. Now let's take a look at the layers. It says here, the layers are, the homes gradually fall into despair until they are little more than shadowy ruins covered with thorns and creepers, riddled with obstructions and hiding places. Foolhardy looters and adventurers who enter are often unaware of Medusa's presence until the creature is among them. When that happens, you're in deep shit. Alright, so you have your longbow, your sword, and your snake here. There you go. And of course, her abilities, her deception, insight, perception, and stealth is really, really good. So with that, understand that Medusa can really cause problems in your game. Big problems. And I don't mean in a bad way. It's a good way for the DM, and it's a good way for the players because they're challenged. They're challenged because they have minions. They're challenged because they have a great villain, and they're going to have to think about tactically how to beat Medusa. And in the story, End of the Line, Endolin met Medusa and got a gift. She wasn't evil. Or, I'm sorry, she was evil, but she had her own agendas. And at that time, at that moment, those agendas that she had in mind, she was thinking about. And the party at the time, they got lucky because that was a moment of clarity for her when she was thinking about her own agendas and things to do. But the party was there, and it got a little complicated. But afterwards, believe it or not, it worked out in their favor. And she gave a gift to one of the players. And I think, that gift was awesome. Excuse me, once again, man, I'm yawning. So, remember that in your games, guys, when you have a creature like this, give her life. Focus on your layer, the scenario. Does your creature have minions? Very, very cool. I give these two creatures a 10 out of 10, man. They're awesome. I love the Helmed Horror. It works for me in my games, and hopefully they work in your games. The Helmed Horror and Medusa. Those are two creatures that I recommend that you use for your games. If you have any questions, guys, let me know in the chat. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central, we have episode 3 of the Vampire the Dark Ages campaign 3. Be there tomorrow night. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions or any concerns, comments, put it down in the chat. I'll get back to you. All right? Thank you for watching.